The Guardians went to the Bronx and handed the AL Cy Young favorite his worst outing of his season, sent Yankees fans home early. It was all because of Jose Ramirez, just like we talked about on Tuesday.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I think, of course, we've learned our lesson the hard way. Doubt Jose Ramirez at your own risk. It's one game. He had a couple doubles. It was a good offensive performance, a much needed offensive performance for both him and the Guardians. But clearly, Jeff, we fired Jose Ramirez up with our show on Tuesday, talking about whether or not he was in an age-related decline. Was it a slump? Trying to get in to the nitty-gritty of what was going on with Jose, and he said, nothing. I'm still Jose Ramirez, at least against the Yankees on Tuesday. Yankees fans went home early. Cam Schlittler hit the showers early, and the Guardians tacked it on late. Everything you would want out of this game, outside of Joey Cantillo going a little bit longer, worked out really good in the Yankees' favor. This is, of course, Locked On Guardians, your only daily podcast on the Guardians that covers your team every day, from the majors, the minors, the draft, and everything in between. Jeff Ellis is over there on the other side of the screen, and Mike. And I'm Justin Lada. Jeff's been here for 8 years. I've been here for 4, and we've both been covering the Guardians minor league system in the draft for 19 years. 19 years, and that is the last out.
And the
Guardians
game is over. Yep.
Put this one away. Matt Festa. What a perfect bullpen performance in this one. 2 hits.
I say literally like no runs across the board.
Yes, 2 hits, no walks either.
Yep.
4, 5, 6, 7 strikeouts across 5 innings and 2 hits. That's unbelievable at Yankee Stadium, no less. And I know. Aaron Judge didn't play, and he might not play during the series because of his shoulder or rib, whatever's going on there. But you know what?
A tough lineup. Nowhere.
Yeah,
Ben Rice might be
Rice
the AL MVP
amazing
right now. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah. Paul Goldschmidt crushes lefties. He did so against Joey Cantillo. Cody Bellinger having a great year. A couple guys in their lineup aren't as good as they were a year ago. I think we kind of saw the Trent Grisham thing coming because we talked about him a lot in the offseason. But this was a very tight game. Very back and forth offensively. Joey Cantillo had to work out of some trouble in the first couple innings, and then he did get himself in the trouble with some walks. And then the offense kept punching back because of Jose Ramirez, Kyle Manzardo, and then Travis Bazzana got the backbreaker late in the game, which was so big because you'd already really dove deep into that bullpen at that point, and there was a little mystery as whether or not Cade Smith would have been available or at his best. He was a little under the weather, so best not to have to use him and let him get a good night's rest and come back and pitch behind Gavin Williams on Wednesday and try to win this series. Jeff, we said yesterday, we're like, all right, this could be a rough series, but boy, that was just about everything you would have wanted, right?
Yeah, it's just you can't help but laugh, right? Like, not just because of the timing, not just because of the timing. We had our whole big debate and concerns about Jose, and then he has one of his strongest games of late. He said hopefully he maintains it. Like, that's been our question. Like, he's had these games, the Cincinnati series he had, and then the first game against Detroit, and then he went ice cold again. So hopefully we're seeing more of these happen, and that's going to lead to more strong outcomes. But I mean, no one expected this with Cam on the mound. I'm not going to try saying the last name because I'm not going to get myself in trouble and or fired for it's one of those names, and with my pronunciation issues could only lead to problems. But this was a guy who was the runaway favorite for the American League Cy Young at this point
still
in the
is
year.
probably
Runaway. I mean, he probably still is, but he had never gone less than 5 all year. He had max given up 4 runs. He had an ERA of 1.5. And of course, this offense that, had gone 14 straight games without scoring 5 runs, puts a 5 spot on him. And even then, I mean, I was still like, oh, come on, you guys couldn't get more. There's again, the bad check swing call on Kyle Manzardo. That's the thing in this game. Like, I think my 2 most annoying points were that, and then Jose Caballero, just Mickey Mouse BS. Like Cantillo was actually on a roll, and that he was out of his rhythm after that. He started walking guys, and they took the lead. But that was just like, how do the umpires let it get that out of control? Like, tell him he's got to get in the box. Like he had just gotten awarded.
Well, he's in the box. The problem is this is what he does every game. I found out from one of the, I think the Washington Post or the New York Times, whatever. Apparently Jose Caballero regularly will get into the box and he will look down away from the pitcher until the clock gets 8 or 9 seconds to try to throw the pitcher off. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. That's so Bush League, to be honest. Like,
I get extremely Bush League.
I get trying to get in a pitcher's head, play the mind game, and try to find yourself some advantages on the margins, but that's Bush League. It's childlike. By the way, Cam Schlittler in the month of May, 5 earned runs total in 30 and a third innings. Tonight in 4 and a third innings.
He's no Christopher Sanchez.
5. No, nobody is, clearly. Except for Gavin Williams that one night, except for he had more strikeouts. But no, he gave up as many runs tonight as he did all the entire month of May. So good on the Guardians for hanging in there. Jose Ramirez had a really good plan of attack. I mean, even the first inning, you could tell they were on him because Jose had the line out to center field that had I think it had a 410 expected batting average.
Yeah,
and again,
that's 4 something. And Chase's was 700 is probably his best at bat of the game in that regard.
Yeah, Jose's was 420, and then Chase's was 710, and that was his best at bat, at least best batted ball of the game. He did have a walk, so you got to take that. But after that, Jose Ramirez exit velocity wise again continues to show that he's still hitting the ball hard. 101, 103, 101, 102, 98 was the double off of Schlittler. And he had his bat speed of 72, which is good because it's not a fast swing, but it's
gotta get 75 for that fast swing.
Yeah, but that's above what we talked about yesterday. He was about 69, I think, from the left side. 68.
It might have been even lower than that.
So that's a good sign. You definitely want that. And that was I believe that was on a changeup, if I'm not mistaken, because the velocity says 84 miles an hour, unless it's a breaking ball. But either way, the fact that he was able to generate that off of a non-fastball, it's a good sign. So yeah, we'll see if he continues it. But at least take credit for one day for speaking into the existence that we were not doubting him, but we were wondering what was going on, and that was enough to fire him up or tell the baseball gods that it was time for Jose to be Jose, and that was the game you wanted on. And that's the thing. Like this is how good the lineup can be. Like I know they went 9 games where they scored 4 runs, or 10 games where they scored 4 runs or less. I know they got to 4 a couple times, and they were teasing us because they had gone like 8 games with less than 4 runs. But this is the potential the lineup has, right? When Jose is Jose, because he hasn't been this year. When Jose is Jose, look how much different the lineup is. Like Kyle Manzardo and Kyle Manzardo, he hit the home run. It was kind of a Mickey Mouse home run because they're playing in a Mickey Mouse ballpark. But you had contributions from Jose, you had contributions from Kyle Manzardo. It took until the last at bat for him, but Bazzana came through late in that game. When you have Bazzana and Jose and Kyle Manzardo, 3 of those guys that are all getting big hits for you in a game, that can make your offense really tough to beat because you're not going to have 5, 6 guys in the lineup at one time that are all firing on all cylinders, right? You're going to get pockets where guys are just struggling, like Angel right now, like Schneemann, and Quan had a nice night for the most part.
You did 2 hits.
Yeah, and Rocchio just keeps doing his thing in the 9-hole, man. It's great. But when you have 3 of those guys that you expect to be big contributors, and DeLauder has a bad night and he's having a rough stretch, you just see like the potential of this offense. Like it's in there to be not to score 9 every night, but to be able to win games like this. Because we were texting. I was like, 5 runs is not going to win this game. Actually, it would have, which is crazy.
It would have. Yeah, that's the funny thing in the end. Yeah. I agreed with you. I didn't think 5 would get you there.
No. But yeah, that's what the offense can do when you have these guys like I know like it's going to be inconsistent because Bazzana's young, DeLauder's young, and Jose's been up and down. Martinez is prone to big
swinging at balls that hit the plate or near his
feet.
Yeah. He's regressed so badly. Like what made him effective was he stopped doing that.
I think
now he's back to it.
I think that's just he's going to have stretches where he really is patient and stretches where he's not. Like that's just who he's going to be. But you see what I mean though. Like this is the potential the lineup has, and it's so fun. And that's why I keep saying like we keep been saying the lineup is better this year. Yeah. And this is what you see. And now that Jose has a Jose game, and he gets two other guys in the lineup to help him out, this is what this team can do.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. We've watched this team all year just miss Jose, miss Quan, miss Manzardo. They had their 3 guys from a year ago, and all 3 of those guys today had multi-hit games. I think those were it. I don't think anyone else had a multi-hit game. I think it was only those 3 guys. Each had 2 hits in this one.
And Quan's was a bunt single, which
but still.
I didn't really love the idea of a bunt there because Bailey was on deck, but
I also didn't love it because he couldn't throw back over, just steal those bases. Like his first bunt attempt, they had those bases stolen. Like if he just lets the ball go, like he had already been in a situation where like he couldn't, like they could walk themselves halfway to second base, and there's nothing the other team could do about it because he had already thrown over too many times. So it wasn't the best, but at the bottom line, it was the best because they scored 9 runs. It was a big offensive output against one of the best in the game. You saw Jose, Quan, and Manzardo all showing the signs of life we needed, and your young guys stepped up. And the worst game anyone had offensively was Lada, who still at least had that walk.
Yeah, exactly. All right, we'll have to talk about the bullpen a little bit because they deserve their moment from this game. We'll talk about must-see TV in New York on Wednesday when it's Gerrit Cole and Gavin Williams. We'll check in on the minors, too. Some interesting notes to talk about over there on the rest of the show. Baseball season, it is heating up. We are in June now, and you can check out Kalshi where you can trade every single game. You can go to Kalshi and you can trade on any baseball game, and honestly, anything in the world you can go trade on over there. The Guardians are trading at a 41% odds to lose on Wednesday. The market does not believe that the Guardians will win again. They won't beat Gerrit Cole. So, it might be an advantageous time to go over there and put $100 down or whatever. And that could get you 167 out of that one. But the nice thing about Kalshi is when you see the market move, you can trade out of your positions or buy out because you're trading against peers in a live market. There's no house. So it's just you, the probability, and where you like to see like where you stand. So for limited time, you can download the Kalshi app, use code Locked On to get $10 when you trade 10 KALSHI. Kalshi, trade on anything 18 plus only. Restrictions apply. Eligibility requirements also apply. Event contract trading involves risk, may not be suitable for all investors. Prices, values, and available markets may differ from those mentioned. For more information, see kalshi.com/regulatory. Get yourself a 7-day free trial of the Everydayer Club right now to get ad-free episodes of Locked On Guardians every single day on audio, and jump over into the private Discord server where Jeff and I and other fans of the Guardians are over there chatting during the game. We had a lot of fun during this Yankees game, going back and forth, talking about things that were happening in this game. You can also use any Discord server over there too. You can go to the Yankees server and listen to them complain about this game and the loss, as well as the Tigers where they did win. So there's something for everybody over on the Discord server and the Everydayer Club. So check the link in the show notes or go to lockedonguardians.supercast.com for more. So we should definitely talk about the bullpen before we move on to game 3 of this series, or I should say game 2. I'm getting ahead of myself because it's Wednesday, but Colin Holderman, I thought it was the right time to pull Joey Cantillo. Like, I know you ideally would have liked him to go another inning, but
I'd have been tempted to at least send him out there and have someone up. I got to be honest.
Yeah. And he was at 91 pitches, so I understand pulling him there. Just things had gotten rocky. His control wasn't great at that point in the game, and the offense kept battling back. So it's like at that point you need to get him out of there and try to do something different. But Colin Holderman, he had a rough day on Sunday, and he bounced back beautifully in this game. 2 strikeouts made Jazz Chisholm look hilariously bad on a curveball. Tim Herrin, I don't know what can somebody, Tim Herrin's in front of the show, but can we show Tim Herrin like the video of what he did tonight or his good nights and be like, see, you can do this. Like, this is what's in there for Tim Herrin. This is the realm of possibilities. We just got to find, like, guys are going to struggle. He's not perfect. He's not Kate, he's not Kate Smith or, 2002 Eric Gagne, but like,
Emmanuel Clase when he wasn't betting.
Yeah. you just need to find more of these outings where he's coming out here and dominating, because he has the stuff to do it if he can find the zone. So someone's got to tell him, like, hey, you can do this like a lot of nights, not every night, but a lot of nights. So I wish we could see more of that. Hunter Gaddis was incredible. He threw a couple changeups, Jeff. He got a couple of whiffs on the changeup too. That is really encouraging. He had, he had 2 called strikes to the changeup, no whiffs, but 2 called strikes. That's good. That's a good sign, because that changeup's been a little bit elusive for him over the last year, half a year going into this year. So very good there. And I think I was texting you too, and I was like, all right, so they've gone to Holderman and Herrin and Gaddis. I was like, at that point, it was still 5-4. And I was like, how are they going to get the 8th and 9th? How are they going to get the 8th? It was 6-4. Sorry. But I was like, I guess you got Armstrong and you had Festa and you had Cade Smith if he was available. But honestly, after they went to Holderman, I was texting you. I was like, I don't know how they're going to get this game to the 9th inning, because the soft underbelly of the bullpen is a little bit light, but they all came through.
Yeah, I was like, they're not. Like, that was my exact, I can own that. I was just like, yeah, they're not going to get there, because like, there's no way that this Yankees team with this offense, it's like, you go up and down that lineup, even without Judge, there are so many players performing super well. Just feels like a minefield. Like, you're eventually going to step onto something. And instead, the bullpen did their job. Top to bottom, everyone stood in, and they even helped them out with the issue with communication, where I don't know if Bailey didn't hear Jose or what. The crazy thing is they won 9-4, and it wasn't a clean game. Like, Rugi should have stopped Jose from going around third base earlier. They had some opportunities early on. They didn't take advantage.
They had a couple bases loaded chances they didn't do anything with,
or they did very little with. And it's like, so like I said, it was not a perfect outing, and they still won 9-4, and that's just, especially against who they did it. It was it's a game you have to feel really good about this team about, and it goes back to what you talked about last segment. I mean, anyone who thinks this offense isn't better than a year ago, and again, like, people are going to get mad at me for this one, but hey, they were mad at me yesterday, so whatever. It's like, I think they made the right decision playing the young kids, because free agency is such a crapshoot. Like, you never know. Do you know who is the best hitter on the Chicago Cubs this year, for instance? Who has the highest WRC plus on a high-paid Cubs team by a significant margin?
The Cubs? It's got to be Nico Horner or Ian Happ.
You would be wrong. It's Michael Conforto, who the Dodgers cut a year ago. He's got a 157 and 93 plate appearances. This is the point. Like, in a year ago, we wanted him. This year, we were like, oh, he's toast. Don't even consider him. You have to sometimes get lucky with guys like that. Keeping the runway clear for Bazzana, or keeping the runway clear for Delauder, seeing what you have in Angel, and then, like, even now keeping it clear that, like, and letting Cooper play some outfield. So maybe if Angel keeps swinging at everything at his ankles, maybe we see Cooper in left field before the end of the year.
Yeah, Cooper won't do that. We know that.
No, he won't. And it's like, that gives you other ways and other options. And the important thing pushing forward from here is, getting those extensions. Like, again, I would love them at the All-Star break to do the thing they haven't done in eons and announce an in-season extension and just lock up Bazzana. Like, he looks like he's going to be worth it. Like, doing some of those moves. I was critical of the front office, and I should have learned by now not to be. I think the only time I have ever, there's like 3 drafts I've beat them in the last 12 years. It's like they're just really always do a fantastic job. And yeah, it'd be great to, unless you shop at the top of free agency, it's not worth the money. This team is continually, Bregman has a league average this year, right? That's the big money signing for the Cubs. Like, that's just the classic example of how this does not work out consistently. So you gotta, find your ways to work. And when you find your young players, keep them through their 20s as much as you can. So it was a fun game. It was a complete game. They still got some holes. They still got some things to work on, but this is also why it's just silly for anyone, after a rough weekend to be like, this team's trash.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it was a rough homestand. They got beat up by the Nationals, who, they have a good offense, but they also didn't hit against the Nationals. So they avoided the sweep, which is good. You just got to stop those losing streaks. When you lose 2 or 3 in a row, you got to be able to bounce back and cut those off. And that's where they've been able to at least succeed is avoid some of those long stretches. And one of those guys who's been a stopper, one of those guys who's a first-round pick, Jeff, that we were unsure about is Gavin Williams, and he is pitching on Wednesday. We'll talk more about game 1. We'll dive into game 2, and we'll check in on the minors with a few more things that were going on Tuesday. The NBA Finals start tonight. Every possession, it's going to matter. If you want to get closer to the action, FanDuel has a great offer to get you started. Right now, if you're a new customer, you can bet just $5, and you can turn that into $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. So all you got to do is get started, win a quick bet, and you're turning 5 into 150. So you just take something with really quick odds. I know the Spurs, I believe, are favored by 7.5. Game 1, I agree with that. I think the Spurs are pretty good. As for the Guardians on Wednesday, it's Gerrit Cole and Gavin Williams. Should be a fun one. The Guardians are the Yankees, I should say, are 1.5 point dogs. So the Guardians are not the favorites in this game. No shock. And the over-under is also, I believe, 7.5. We did see, 15 runs or 13 runs on Tuesday. I don't know that we'll see that on Wednesday with Gerrit Cole and the big rig going. So you're going to check that out and see what happens over there. But head over to FanDuel.com to get started. FanDuel, play your game. And thank you to everybody, as always, who's watching the show whenever, listening to the show whenever, making it your first listen tonight, every day, wherever you get podcasts. Hey, great news. You got a bonus episode coming later on Wednesday. We have an AL Central squad show coming your way with CJ Baumgartner of Locked On Twins, Todd Welter of Locked On White Sox, Jack Johnson of Locked On Royals, Scott Bentley of Locked On Tigers, and myself talking about the state of the division. So that's dropping at noon. If it's past noon, go and listen to that, watch that. And Jeff's got a special surprise coming your way at some point as well with draft stuff. So lots of bonus content coming your way. If you want all of that, you got to hit the bell on YouTube and subscribe so you get notified when those episodes go live, when our reaction videos go up to any games that happen, any news that happens. And please auto-download all your audio platforms so the show stays in your feed. And you can catch up whenever and go back and laugh at us for Tuesday's show when Jose gets back and ends the year at a 140 WRC plus or something. I don't know. I'd love people to go back and laugh at that. Jeff, you're muted. So whatever you're saying doesn't matter. Clearly.
I just said, I would love it. I'm always very happy to be wrong. I don't have this arrogant streak where I have to be right all the time. Like I will often joke with you about the people online who we interact with who are never wrong. I will gladly point out when I'm wrong. But yeah, this is fun. And again, hopefully Jose maintains and we see this for the rest of the, obviously not 3 hits a game for the rest of the year because that just doesn't happen. But we see him get back to being the Jose that we are used to, which when you add in what Bazzana has been, hopefully what Chase can get back to being, like it just transforms.
Manzardo's good, man.
Manzardo. If Quan can get close to league average, it's like it just takes a team that was really not fun in a lot of regards to watch a year ago and makes them appointment television.
Yeah, I think this game on Wednesday certainly will be too. It's going to be a lot of fun to see Gavin Williams go to New York and try to outduel Gerrit Cole, who's only making his 3rd start since coming back from Tommy John surgery. So there could be still some bumps in the road. Nothing's perfect, but he has looked pretty good since he's come back. So we'll see what happens. Gerrit Cole has given the Guardians fits in the past. So this will be an interesting matchup for them on Wednesday. And I know the Yankees and Yankee fans will be wanting to erase the bad taste in their mouth because the Guardians made the fans hit the exits early.
Yep.
I just want to say I'm very impressed that like Bazzana did have some really rough at bats early on.
He did.
But he didn't let that get to him. He didn't get intimidated. They didn't get intimidated as a whole, by Cam Schlittler, who deservedly so is the AL Cy Young favorite, or the crowd at, Yankee Stadium. Like you have a lot of young guys in this lineup. Again, Angel and Bazzana and DeLauder. These guys have not played at Yankee Stadium or in these kind of crowds before. So it's good to see they didn't get intimidated and they kept pushing as the game went on. They added on, which has been the biggest thing for them this year is adding on. So when 5-4 would have gotten the job done in the end, I assume Kate Smith with a fever might have still pitched okay. I don't know, but they added on. That's something they haven't done a lot of this year is add on. That's what you want late for them. Should we quickly talk about?
Let's talk minors, right?
Should we dive into the transaction real quick? That Quan is back off the bereavement list or the family emergency list. And Petey Halpin goes to AAA. Stuart Fairchild sticks around.
Halpin and Fairchild are kind of similar. More defense over bat. Fairchild probably runs better. Halpin, I think, is a stronger defender, though. Fairchild is no slouch, but it gives you another right-handed stick. And, what I've talked about for a long time is that I think that when Arias is ready, he moves up to the roster, and then, hey, you got to take someone off the roster to move him from the 40-man. So you get a longer look with Fairchild. You don't, I don't think you have to worry about him opting out or another team claiming him unless there's a team that's like really desperate or someone gets hurt at the time. So I think, it just sets them up for less overall transactions. Maybe lets Petey get a few more games in because he's just not playing very much right now.
Yeah, I think this is a long-term move. You're getting Petey back in the mix down in AAA, getting him some more regular playing time, and you're just you're not really worried about Stuart Fairchild's development at this point. And I know Petey had the 2 extra base hits over the weekend, and Stuart Fairchild looked lost. Not really surprised by that, but yeah, I think this is you're holding on to depth for a little bit, right? So you're setting Halpin down because he has options, and whereas Fairchild doesn't, and maybe he gets claimed, maybe he doesn't. I don't really know what the situation is around baseball as far as the outfield's concerned, and who needs a 4th or 5th outfielder. But like you said, this is a depth move for now, and then when Arias comes back, which I think he's close to a rehab assignment. If it's not this week, it'll be next. And who knows how long he'll need to be on rehab for. But yeah, you just DFA Stuart Fairchild off the roster to bring Arias off to 60. So this is not they love Fairchild more than Halpin, despite the fact that Fairchild was lost over the weekend against the Red Sox when he did play. It's just a depth and you need roster fodder, as we said all the time on here. You need guys that you can feel good about moving on from if you have to add somebody else to the roster. I think Will Dion is also one of those guys as well. Like, they have that spot open. And then Arias is only 60 the IL guy. So they have some spots to play with, which is good. If you're going to add, a Cooper Ingle, or there's really nobody else that I can think of adding to the 40 at this point during the season besides Ingle. I'm looking at the rosters now and I don't see anybody. I know someone's going to say Ralphie, but I will say Ralphie had a pretty rough night for Columbus. He was 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts, and he was chasing some breaking stuff that he had no business chasing. And we did have one of our everydayers, Daniel, say he is struggling. Columbus, is it normal to need to adjust? And absolutely, it's normal. This is very normal. This is why he needed AAA to go through some struggles so he can learn how to adjust back and figure out what to do when he does struggle, because he wasn't doing that at Akron. And this is why everyone was like, oh, Ralphie's going to be up this year. And maybe he will. I don't, like I said, the odds are not 0 that he comes up at some point this year, but these are the things he's going to go through and he needs to go through. And it's going to be good. And it's going to be the same for Luke Hill, who's in Akron now, who did have his first hit in Akron on Tuesday night, but I am still blown away by Luke Hill. Like, this is not what I expected at all. Like, he has, I don't think he's not going to continue to show the power he showed in high A, because he's very much he's showing a lot of his power to the opposite field, which is good, but I don't think that's going to be sustainable as he moves up. But the guy is clearly a good defensive infielder. He can run a little bit, and I really like the approach to the plate. So this is an interesting player that wasn't off my radar, but I'm just very surprised by it, we'll say, by what he's doing.
Yeah, I was going to see if I could pull up some of his data from our friend who provides data to us from a year ago with Hill. The thing I would say is, he was kind of a back end of the top 30 for me entering the year. I mean, you want to talk about an on fire May because of the other prospects around him. He didn't get as much. Like, in college, he had a 104 90th percentile exit velocity, which is actually pretty good. Like, that is in the solid to above average range. 21% barrel, Average exit velocity was 88, but he was more of a ground ball guy, though he did have a 30% pull rate. It performed well against competition. So this is the same thing with like Walton as well. If I have his data in here, I could pull up, but it's like these are the players that the team found some things they thought they could maybe do with ways they could help. For instance, Walton had almost the exact same, while playing in a much more hitter friendly environment in Arizona, had the exact same exit velocity and average exit velo a year ago, basically. Both had high ground ball rates. So it's finding the talent, working with them, and changing some of the swing approaches. But Walton and Luke Hill were incredibly similar in terms of their EVs a year ago and their average exit velocities and stuff like that. So it's nice to see the team work with these guys and that they keep getting better. It's kind of like found money with Hill in particular, because he was what we used to call a day 2 player. Good competition, good numbers, but for him to hit with the power he's had and the authority is a big bonus. Take a moment, pour one out for Guy Litzicum, who was a 5th rounder out of Belmont. Had some crazy numbers at Belmont. And then good tools, hadn't really put together here. He was in a bit of a squeeze in that outfield. I think someone will give him a chance somewhere, because he's got good traits. They just haven't translated. We wish him well, as we do anyone. I think he can be a good great speed, good organizational soldier. When you look at some of these teams that have like their AAA squad is all dudes over 35, like I think there's a home for him. But Luke Hill, get excited. Like he led all of minor league baseball, taking this from Logan Petoskey, who he works for Lake County, right?
It's the captain's broadcaster.
Guy. I don't want to, I want to give him credit. But it's like he led all of minor league baseball, I believe, in slugging percentage and OPS. Not just the level, all of minor league baseball. That's how good he was in May. So Luke Hill is a player that is 100% on the rise.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like I said, I don't know what to expect as he moves up, because I didn't expect this. So we'll see what happens when he faces AA pitching and things move. Maybe AAA is going to be the area we see. That's like, I know it used to be, people would say, oh, high to AA is like the really big jump and the proving ground. Given how spread out the minors are now, as far as the gap of talent is concerned,
right.
Like it's the AAA gap. The AAA major league gap is still so big, but getting the AAA and having AAA success doesn't guarantee anything. I mean, again, Owen Miller, and who else can we put in that range?
Rodriguez. Bobby
Bradley. Like, there's so many guys that crush the ball at AAA.
Matt Laporta.
Yeah, well, that one was back in the day when I don't think.
I know, but I'm just saying, it's like,
it was less obvious. It was less obvious back then. But yeah, so like AA is one of those areas. Like, yeah, it's a proving ground for sure. You're facing guys with better stuff and they throw more strikes, all that kind of stuff. But two things: they're still using what's not a Major League Baseball at AA, which I still don't understand why not.
Cost.
And yeah, probably cost. It still, even then, still doesn't make sense. Because I believe the teams in the minors are responsible for the baseballs. So I guess that's why they're finding a cheaper solution. And then at AAA, I'm not sure if the teams who's providing the baseballs, maybe that's a question we could find someone to answer for us at some point, but you got to get to AAA and at least prove yourself there. So the AA is no longer the jump it used to be. And unfortunately, AAA is not either. So everything's grain of salt unless you just really see really good under the hood data, which is hard to find sometimes, or can be a little bit misleading. So, all right. So definitely can't wait to tune into Guardians Yankees on Wednesday night. Hopefully the Guardians can send Yankees fans home again early, and at least they'll never be able to make Aaron Boone shut up, because that team never stops complaining. But beating them is satisfying enough. So we'll come back on Thursday and we'll talk about Game 2. Gerrit Cole and Gavin Williams. Should be fun. Yeah,
New York has been a house of horrors for them, so it'd be nice to see them flip the script, as it were. I want to do one quick shout out to Lunar Equity 1993, who said Tuesday night they'll be going to their first ever Major League Baseball game at Great American Ballpark. So Yeah, I wanted to give them a shout out. That's awesome. Give you all a shout out for listening and joining us, and hope you had fun. Go check out Luke Hill if you haven't had a chance. Thank you all.
Yeah.
And go Guardians. Go